Good afternoon, everybody. Forgot to even add myself to the live stream. I hope you had a peaceful Tuesday. Had to look that up too. It's a busy day. So today we're going to dive into everything from what happens nationally, what happens internationally, what happens in the Middle East. Hence my delay. Thank you for being so patient. We have some, well, mainstream media will call it breaking news. I would call it truth. We got some truth and some clarity on what happened in Qatar or Qatar, whatever you call it. And once we talk about it, I will add it to whatever I have prepared to explain how it all occurred, who was behind it, what could be the idea of that occurrence, and what can follow after. It stopped being funny about 12 hours ago. It will have consequences. I don't think it will have major consequences, but some consequences for Israel. So we're going to talk about it. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being patient. Hi, Jared. Hello. Hi, Morgan. Hello. Again, thank you for being here. Now, let's talk about first. I want to mention what happened in Ukraine. I will save you from seeing the video that has been posted and has been circulating across social media and on channels. Hi, Mike. Hello. Because just it's very traumatic to see it. You know, as much as it is very difficult to watch and see everything that occurred in Charlton, North Carolina, where a Ukrainian woman, a refugee, a young woman, was massacred and stabbed and killed in, riding in a train. I will, again, not show those pictures. Yes, I've seen them. I'm sure you have seen them. Perhaps you even dared to watch the video. It's horrible. What I find it's even more so disgusting is that now it's being used as a reason for National Guard takeover and, as a reason to progress with the White House idea of federal takeover of several states. That is what gives me an ick, and I don't want to really dive more into that. You saw the videos, you saw what happens. We know that this guy has been in custody several times, had been let go. Certainly that is not the way of treating that. And if somebody has mental disorder with this type of aggression, yes, this person does not belong on the street. Do we need to use this for federal takeover and National Guard invasion that it actually is legally? I don't think so, but I'll let you decide. Hi, hello, Michael. Hello. And I didn't show Mike's message. Yes, hi. In Ukraine, now physically in Ukraine, there was a deadly strike today on the Donetsk region. Part of it is occupied, is under Russian occupation. Now, this is Ukrainian side. President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the attack as brutally savage. And again, that's what I'm referring to. I'll save you the video. What was there is that those were ordinary civilians lining up to get their pension. This was the day when it's a small settlement. It's not middle of a big city or anything. They were lining up to get paid, and 20 of them have been killed, and they were attacked by Russia. Zelensky says, "My condolences to all the families and loved ones of the victims." According to preliminary information, more than 20 people were killed. Those were ordinary civilians at the very moment when pensions were being disbursed. Zelensky urged the United States, Europe, and G20 to deliver a strong response, saying Russia must face new strong sanctions and new strong blows. As to the blows, I think this is what Ukraine will serve to Russia before EU and America will even dare to even think about it. So, as to Russian rhetoric, today their State Duma Committee on Defense head, so the head of that Committee on Defense in their State Duma, which is sort of a parliament or senate, right, in our terms, his name is Andrei Kartapolov, and he talked now about Finland. Remember that Russia is doing their exercises at the border with Finland? Finland is now building a wall. Finland is very much aware. So today in that State Duma Defense Committee, they said, quote, Finland is becoming a hotbed of fascism bigger than Ukraine. We know how to protect our interests and are ready for any development of events. Then Dmitry Medvedev, the drunkard, former president, when Putin was sort of playing alongside the constitution and installed him practically as president, and he was vice president or equivalent of that, and then 4 years later returned. He's now head of national security. He says that unfriendly countries are plotting to release alien plants, animals, and microorganisms into Russia to defeat it biologically. Well, maybe he's fearing the worm from RFK Jr., but listen, we can gift you all these worms and whatever. I don't know what they're taking, but they must be taking something real good and real proper. Zelensky also gave an interview to ABC where he talked about the Donbass region. He dismissed Vladimir Putin's claim that he would seize Donbass by year's end. Quote, he said he will not take it. The price is years and millions of people. So essentially saying that whatever Trump was pushing the European leaders, including Zelensky, to give up to Russia just a few weeks ago in Washington, D.C., Ukraine is not accepting this. We're not giving up Donbass region. Other highlights, and those are some quotes from him. He says if Russia pushes harder, it risks losing 2 to 3 million additional people. Buffer zones, he said, are not necessary. Ukraine already enforces deadly drone defense lines. And essentially Putin, per Zelensky, and we see it, it's factual, did underestimate Ukraine's resolve and also international support. And the war must end, Zelensky said, but with the help of pressure. And that pressure is really on European Union. And today, European Union decided not to use the profits of the frozen assets of Russia, which again just sends a signal of weakness altogether. Now, what is good? That German Rheinmetall signed an arms deal with Ukraine. So their CEO, Armin Paperger, confirmed a new contract with Ukraine worth a 3-digit million sum for delivery of Sky Ranger air defense systems. Deliveries are expected to begin this year, and so then the expert said then likely it should involve the Sky Ranger 35 turret mounted on those Leopard 1 tanks that are already scheduled to be delivered. And now let's talk about the Middle East, and that's a good comment. Morgan says Russia would do well to remember the Winter War, right? Yeah. And I was speaking, with my family, found out that I had great grandfather who passed away in that war against Finland. And it's like, it's a whole thing. And we all are so involved. All we have to do is just be curious to find the data and the facts. Now, as to Middle East, this morning, we woke up to the news that Israel is about to bomb Doha, which is the capital of Qatar, or Qatar, however you refer to it. And let's just go back a little bit. A few months ago, Trump was enjoying the McDonald's 18-wheeler. He was enjoying the hair dances by women greeting him in Doha. He got the plane, right? Infamously, he got the new Air Force One plane and all of this from Doha. They pledged to invest so much into the United States. United States then said, look, you got to pay for our American forces that are stationed in Qatar, and this is the biggest military base of ours in Middle East. And they said, okay, we're going to pay for it. Pay for their life literally there, for their training, so we really physically and financially will host your troops. And after all that, there comes the announcement. This came from Channel 12. And that's why I'm late here, because I wanted to hear from officials. I didn't want to just stick to channel this said that, channel that said that, because all of this is bogus. And all I had by 5 p.m. is a statement from the White House, which is worth maybe the paper it's written on. So we got the statements, but let me guide you through. We hear this from Channel 12, Israeli channel, saying that the Israel got a green light from Trump personally to bomb the Hamas leaders, 5 of them, who were meeting in Doha. Now, why were they even meeting there? We need to go 1 week back when I started reporting that Hamas is saying, we will give you all the hostages alive and the remains of those who have been killed. We will return it to their families. They're lacking finances, support, political, diplomatic, all of that. Hamas is done. It's donezo, as you say. So they were willing to not just negotiate, but just give up and just, meet and start talking. Who talks with them from the Biden administration times is Qatar, because they are the mediators. You cannot have American officials sitting at the table with the internationally recognized terrorist organization Hamas, because at that point, you will be elevating them to the level of legitimate partner and negotiator, right? So at that point, Qatar is doing the job as much as Saudi Arabia, but mostly Qatar or Qatar, however you call it, right? So they're playing this role of mediator. They have nothing to win. Of course, they want to have tranquility and peace in the Middle East. Their point is, we don't want to be bombed, because when Iran is bombing, Israel, just look at the map, countries in between suffer. So then somehow we hear from Trump, specifically when he went to New York to watch the US Open. He's returning. He is deplaning at the JBA, right? Joint Base Andrews. He's exiting Air Force One. He goes to the media straight ahead, and he says, there's videos I can show you. I don't have them, but I can find them and show you, where he says, oh, sorry, I didn't talk to the media during the flight, but I was so busy talking about Hamas. I think we're going to have a deal. I think we're going to push them to negotiate. There will be something big coming. They will be pushed to negotiate, which at that point yesterday, I specifically told you, why is he saying that? Because Hamas has been saying that we are here to negotiate. We're here essentially to give up. Now, Israel said, don't trust Hamas, they're bluffing, we're just going to invade Gaza. Yesterday they said half of Gaza has to evacuate. Today they said, and I have the readout for you, 100% of Gaza City have to evacuate. Meanwhile, only 10% left, leaving about 1 million people there. And Israel said, well, we gave you warnings, you don't hear, we're just going to roll over you. And this is the situation right now. So then Trump orchestrates, and this is now we're finding out through Qatar and through their official foreign ministry. And again, they don't have nothing to win here. They're negotiating. Trump pushes for Israel and the leaders of Hamas, who are stationed in Palestine, come to Qatar, to Doha, 5 of them, because there will be negotiation. And Witkoff would be there and all of that. So they are meeting in Doha, in the center of Doha, at the hotel. This is what was scheduled for our American time, Eastern time morning. They gather there, and Israel claiming they got the green light from Trump to bomb the heck out of those 5 leaders, which they do. And first we got this picture that center of Doha has been targeted, and something is going on there. Then we start getting videos from those people who were there. Take a look. Oh my God. Then we get more videos. Then we start hearing reports. Channel 12, again, that the Israeli side says Gaza leader Khalil al-Haya was main target, the outlet reported, again citing Israeli officials that Trump did greenlight the operation. Then Al Jazeera says the strike hit Hamas negotiation team during talks over Trump's peace proposal, which now is referred to as Trump's peace proposal because he called up that meeting. France French President Emmanuel Macron put out the statement. He says today's Israeli strikes on Qatar are unacceptable, whatever the reason may be. If you're Canadian, you should care. Prime Minister Carney also put out the statement. I do have it here. Canada condemns Israel's strikes in Qatar and an intolerable expansion of violence and an affront Qatar's sovereignty. Regardless of their objectives, such attacks pose a grave risk of escalating conflict throughout the region and directly imperil efforts to advance peace and security, secure the release of all hostages, and achieve a lasting ceasefire. Efforts in which Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani plays a highly constructive role. Now we're talking about Qatar, not Saudi Arabia, okay? So then the briefing starts, the press briefing at the White House. I'll spare you the video, but Caroline Leavitt states, and she quotes Trump, that President Trump considered Israel's strike on Hamas targets in Qatar unfortunate. They claim, right, she says, that Trump dispatched Steve Witkoff to warn Qatar ahead of the attack and later reassured Qatari leaders it would not happen again. To that, we start hearing, and I have the readout, what happened today is state of terrorism. The Qatar's prime minister is quoted by the media. Quote, we affirm that Qatar will not tolerate any violation of its sovereignty and reserves the right to respond to its blatant attack. Essentially, now Qatar threatens Israel with retaliation. In response to the White House statements, we start hearing from and just so you understand who that is, this is the Foreign Ministry of Qatar spokesperson, official spokesperson, who says the statements being circulated about Qatar being informed of the attack in advance are baseless. The communication received from one of the American officials, meaning Steve Witkoff, came during the sound of explosions resulting from Israeli attack in Doha. Meanwhile, what Trump does, he starts tweeting this. I'm pleased to report that Elizabeth Turkov, a Princeton student whose sister, an American citizen, was just released by Hezbollah. Now he's talking about Hezbollah, which is not directly to do with Hamas, and is now safely in the American embassy in Iraq or Iraq after being tortured for many months. I will always fight for justice and never give up. Hamas, release the hostages now. To which then Qatar starts producing statements that, hey, guy, you're lying. We thought we are aligned with you. We host and pay for your military. We're playing a mediator. And you zhuzhed it all up. You brought Hamas into a hotel in the middle of Doha. And if you've seen Doha, I mean, it's a very rich city at this point. And you bombed the hell out of them by allowing Israelis to do so. To which, from what I hear now from the Qatari side, is that they cannot get any support from the American side. The American side wants to be neutral because, quote, they want to sell weapons to both sides, Israel and Qatar. Here you have it. Now, I don't think it requires a lot of brain power to imagine that the same stuff is going to go between Ukraine and Russia soon. We just want to sell weapons to everybody. Trump has been telling this physically, saying that I see America as a big department store where people come in and just shop. Then later he said, I'm adding 10% markup on everything we sell in terms of military. Now we are renamed as Department of War. We're selling warfare. We're selling military equipment. And that's what it comes down to. So here you have it. Your comments. The world is so chaotic. Absolutely, Mike. Trump can't do anything positive. I don't think he's trying to. That sounds very Trumpian indeed, Stevie. Hi, Stevie Lynn. What the actual fuck? Exactly, right? So that's what we're hearing. And what Trump fails to understand here, or he is ignoring the fact. I mean, whatever the reason may be. I mean, just as Macron said, for whatever reason this is happening, he fails to understand that people do have self-respect and honor, and they defend the hell out of it. And it doesn't matter whether it's Ukrainians who just gonna go and die and just to defend their land and to have a chance to give the next generations a possibility to remain Ukrainian. Or this is people in Doha who live their life. They are investing. You demand them to invest. They do invest. They try to play the games you want to play with them. But you are invading their sovereignty if you bomb the hell out of their capital. Okay, it's one hotel, but whatever. You are insulting others like Japan, South Korea, even China at this point. Because with this tariff war, you're showing that your word means nothing, your signature means nothing, your agreements mean nothing. So I do understand Prime Minister Carney's statement yesterday. There was a briefing where he said, look, you all are asking about my stance on America and what we're going to do with President of the United States and the trade deals. But when I wake up and my job is to work to bring Canada forth, I'm thinking, trying to build a deal with America that can reverse it any second is waste of my time. I have to build out my economies to start trading with other partners. I mean, can you judge him? No. So when I see the comments, and I'm not here to defend anybody, when I'm seeing comments that, oh, Canada is failing to respond and he's failing us and he's selling us to Wall Street, whatever, please listen to his statements, not what you read, not what you're told on television or radio podcast. Read the statements of what this particular guy says, because he does address it. That's all I'm going to say. I don't like, in talking about Golden Dome and all that stuff. And I point it out right away. But when it's right, it's right. So try to pay attention to details rather than the big hoopla. When something is breaking news and it's a big hoopla, that means you are being taken for a ride. And if it's free content, that means you are the product. So remember that. So, as to products, China is stepping in to bail out Russia. Facing economic collapse after massive war spending and frozen assets, Russia is turning to China for rescue. The Financial Times reports that Russian companies will soon sell debt on the Chinese bond market, the panda market, allowing Beijing to prop up Moscow's economy and, in turn, extend its war capacity. Now, what does it have to do with national security? A lot. A lot. And that Putin is allowing this to happen is showing you how bad things are going. Ruble is rumbling. And I mean, he really is relying on China, North Korea, Iran, and whatnot to help him, expand his war zone. And for him to satisfy China's hunger and China's interest is to expand the invasion. Because just shaking up Europe in terms of invading Ukraine is not enough for China. They need to tank the whole continent. They need to start shaking up more countries there. So it becomes a long-term, trouble for Europe, where Europe is not being able to rebuild itself financially, where all the funds and everything will be just pouring into military aid and production and just trying to defend some type of borders. So China is now dictating where Putin is going. Also, since they're buying the debt of those companies, most of those companies are oil, national resources related, and are very national, on a national scale. Those are the government co-owned companies, right? And so you start selling shares of those to China, and the more they buy, the sooner they can replace leaders, they can choose the different trajectory of their business deals and whatnot, right? So China can practically buy out those industries at some point if Putin is not stopping, and he isn't. Now, this is also part of Putin's honor. Believe it or not, the moth has honor. He's not going to leave anywhere. That's why they put out statements everywhere. He's not going to, tuck his tail between his legs and just go away from Ukraine. At this point, the guy is of particular age, and, he's going to go down with whatever the plan is. But this is a good, interesting development. Now, a big thing happened in Nepal. So, yes, they have corruption. Yes, I reported yesterday that the government has banned essentially all the social media platforms because those social media companies, the mother and whatever the companies that own social media platforms, are not willing to sign transparency agreements with Nepal's government. As a result, their Prime Minister Oli has resigned. And then the Gen Z, it is referred to Gen Z revolution, people between 18 and 30, this is what I learned yesterday, this generation started protesting. And not just going on the streets with signs, they started literally burning stuff down. This is their parliament building. This has happened, during the day. And they started invading. And I will Nepal has descended into chaos at that point. So Prime Minister Sharma Oli has resigned following mass protests. Government buildings, luxury hotels, and officials' homes have been set ablaze. I'll save the videos. I don't want to be banned anywhere, but they literally go into the homes of ministers, beat them down and their families. They chased a financial minister or minister of finance into a river, put a bag over his head and started beating him down in the river. So it's physical. More than 500 people have been injured in clashes. At this point, at least 19 have died. Now, tragic violence has also claimed personal lives, right? So the wife of the prime minister and the former prime minister died after protesters set her house on fire. And so by end of the day, we see this video essentially foreign tourists, also have to mention that in case you have somebody there. So foreign tourists are stranded as international airports have closed, and they remain closed with only shuttle buses operating between airports and hotels. So they really can't leave unless they choose other directions that are not requiring flights. So by end of the day, we see everything burning down. The parliamental building, the prime minister's offices, and all the offices, and the documents. Everything is sort of set ablaze. Take a look. So in something now from Berlin, we go back to the Qatari problem. The violation of Qatar, says Bundeskanzler Merz, the Chancellor Merz, the violation of their sovereignty and territorial integrity by today's Israeli attack is unacceptable. So Germany is speaking out against Israel, first time. The war must not spread to the region. To this end, I've spoken by phone with Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. And so now Europe is trying to convince Qatar not to hit Israel. That's where we are. I'll keep updating it. I'll have this. Anyway, there is a chat on that. That topic. There's different topics in that. I'll update it. Okay. All right. A comment. We got comment. Holy smokes. Yeah, literally, right? That Nepal thing is incredible. Incredible. Jalalabad. Okay, now South Korea. Remember Hyundai company had a lot of employees that came from South Korea. 400, how many of those exactly? 472 have been detained by ICE and Department of Homeland Security. Most of them were on visas here. I explained yesterday those were not H-1B visas, but were B-2 visas because U.S. government did not offer any work visas, and so they had to find a way. Okay? But all entered legally, were here legally. So Seoul is demanding answers after U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement raided the plant, arresting legal Korean visa holders. Reports say arrests were made without translators, without warning, and despite prior clearance by U.S. border authorities. Now, this is all ICE arrests. Have you ever seen a translator? President Lee Jae-myung is mobilizing his government to defend hundreds of detained South Korean citizens. Now, some of them, they moved to Mexico. Oh, you hope they moved, yeah. Some of them have been released. The foreign minister of South Korea is in Washington, D.C. today. But I wanted to show this report to you just to provide a bit more clarity on that, because they also show the depiction in videos. Take a look.
In video released by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Asian workers are seen shackled and getting onto a bus after an ICE raid on a Hyundai Motor car battery facility in Georgia. 300 Koreans were arrested in Thursday's raid, and on Saturday, South Korea's president ordered all-out efforts to swiftly respond. Foreign Minister Chu Hyun told an emergency government meeting that he was deeply concerned by the incident. He said the president, quote, emphasized that in the course of U.S. law enforcement, the rights of our people and the economic activities of South Korean investors in the U.S. must not be unjustly infringed upon. Thursday's arrest of some 475 workers, including over 300 Koreans, at the plant near Savannah was the largest single-site enforcement operation in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's
history. So we also have drama in the House. So Washington, D.C. has another drama, including Scott Bessent, our Secretary of Treasury. Politico reported that a heated confrontation between Bessent and federal agency head Bill Pulte happened during a private dinner, where Bessent said, it's either him or me, decide who leaves. So he literally said, I'm going to hit you in your face. This clash stemming from rumors that Pulte criticized Bessent to Trump nearly turned physical. It follows Bessent's earlier altercation with Elon Musk, where he hit his eye, remember? And allegedly, this is the third time that Bessent tries to throw punches. Interesting, right? Now let's get to some quick national news. The Trump administration said it had begun an immigration crackdown in Chicago, but I checked, local officials reported only a handful of arrests so far. Oh, by the way, I will not be talking about labor statistics because I think those are bogus. So until I find what the source they use to reverse all the statistics from last year about Biden administration and this year, I will not be reporting them. Because remember, I think about a few weeks ago when they released some bogus data about our economy, saying that we added 3.3% to our GDP and $30 trillion to our economy. And then all that was presented as a source was a video with Lutnick. So until I know where that thing came from, I will not be just, playing their game by repeating whatever they put down. Okay? I didn't catch it. So since Trump's deportation campaign began, remittances from U.S. immigrants to Latin America have surged. Local sheriffs are converting jails into ICE detention centers to align with Trump's agenda and boost budgets. The Murdoch family succession battle is over. If you were holding your breath, Lachlan Murdoch will retain control, ensuring the empire's conservative tilt continues. So they will be spreading the news. Entertainment news. CBS News tapped a right-wing policy veteran with no journalism experience to oversee coverage complaints. U.S. high school seniors' reading skills have hit their lowest level in 30 years, federal data shows. So about 38% can't even do this. The Justice Department is in discussions with Homeland Security investigations about transferring sensitive voter roll data gathered from states for potential criminal and immigration-related investigations, according to internal documents seen by Reuters. So they will know who you voted for and target you for that. Speaker Mike Johnson warned, quote, the ultimate question of whether there's going to be a governmental shutdown at the end of the month is going to be up to congressional Democrats, and that's just the way it is, unquote. He also hinted that if they do not welcome National Guard, then that will have an effect on this budget that they're trying to approve. As to Epstein records, I read this book. They released the Black Book, the first 50 years, it's called. This the birthday book for Epstein. I don't know if you saw it. I don't want to show it here, nor I can, but it's so disturbing. I mean, it has all this type of letters and congratulations that Ghislaine Maxwell gathered together for Epstein. And I mean, it has pictures, I mean, with like naked body parts of him and the women and all that. Stories where he was, as they call, perking women and girls and whatnot, but also like written cards by kids. And you see it, it's a kid writing. And they had pictures of kids' body parts, girls' body parts. And it's horrible. I mean, it has letters from, including Clinton, but it also has this letter from Trump that Trump says is not belonging to him, and the White House is sort of like trying now to sue Wall Street Journal for it. By the way, I do have the tweet from Levitt on that. She says the latest piece published by Wall Street Journal proves the entire birthday card story is false. As I've said all along, it's very clear President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it, but it's a different picture already, no? President Trump's legal team will continue to aggressively pursue litigation. Furthermore, the reporter Joe Palazzolo, who wrote this hatchet job, reached out for comment at the exact same minute he published this story. Giving us no time to respond. This is fake news to perpetuate the Democrats' Epstein hoax. So essentially, you are calling the women who are victims of this props. That's what you're hinting on. The same as Russia called dead bodies in Bucha, in Mariupol, in Ukraine, also props. House Oversight Committee has released new records from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, including a lewd note that mentions President Donald Trump. He's also mentioned there that he was given worthless woman or something for 22 plus some $1,000. He bought it from somebody, and they all do ha about it. There's a picture with the check and Trump written on it, and Epstein is holding it. It's the whole, if you're into it, read it. It's very disturbing. Midas Touch put it out. Some other reporters put the whole threads about it. So you have full the resource. If you want, I can put links to it where you can literally see the pages of it. Or you can just go to House Oversight Committee and just see it for yourself. So, Maxwell explained in the book's prologue, like she did an introduction to what this book was for, that she sought to gather stories and old photographs to jog your memory about places, people, and different events. I mean, addressing Epstein. Trump has denied writing the letter and is now filing or has filed a lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal, which first reported on the note. And this, I think, really shows you what this is, right? I mean, they're all studying the signature. Trump was smart enough not to put his full signature the way he signs executive orders, but he put the Donald signature, which, I mean, many people posted the letters they got from him, sort of friendly, personal letters signed with exactly the same signature. So who am I to judge? But you are here to judge, and I think you'll do the right judgment, right? So, as to Supreme Court in 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court upheld the Trump administration's authority to conduct immigration raids based on race, language, and type of employment. Whoa. What kind of country is this? This is the place where dreams come true? Goodness gracious. Immigrant rights advocates argued the policy constitutes blatant racial profiling, well, no shit, and violates Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable searches. The ruling is already affecting industries. Farms across multiple states report labor shortages as immigration enforcement increasingly targets workplaces. I mean, how long until we have to ask a white male to go to a supermarket to buy us food? And I mean us, because women will be next. That will be the big thing. I mean, you saw yesterday the questionnaire, the statistics, what MAGA men want. They want to have children. And it shows that MAGA women have children on the bottom of their list. And liberal women literally have it as the last point on their list. So, what they're going to push women to have children? Are they going to prohibit anything to to delay that decisions, right? Prohibit any type of contraception methods, just to push women to become mothers and fit their narrative, or they're going to rape women. I mean, you see the trends, you see the point of your body, my choice, right? That rhetoric has built up for years, this type of willingness to have children and see it as number one priority in your life. And if the other party is not being part of it, the other party will be pushed to be part of it. And now Supreme Court is siding with them. As to global quick news, U.S. steps back on disinformation. Washington is ending cooperation with Europe on countering influence campaigns from Russia, China, and Iran, the Financial Times reports. Well, Canada still has this, so that's where I get my news on that. Cyber scam sanctions. The U.S. Treasury sanctioned operators of cyber fraud networks in Myanmar and Cambodia, industries accused of stealing tens of billions from Americans last year. FCC targets Chinese labs. The Federal Communications Commission launched proceedings to revoke recognition of 7 Chinese government-linked test labs over national security concerns. And a group of white South Africans, and a lot of you messaged me, quite some, to research more about those Afrikaans, right? Remember the white South Africans who came here claiming they're being racially profiled in South Africa. Meanwhile, they're farmers. They do have wealth. They do have status. They're not being targeted. This has been debunked so many times by South African government. Anywho, so some of them, around 300, came here. Remember the flags and all? I showed you the videos. They were greeted by our immigration and all that, right? So now a group of white South Africans calling themselves now Amerikaners. It has one A, but it should be Amerikaners. Has been enlisted as U.S. State Department referral partner to process applicants for Trump's program offering resettlement to Afrikaners. South Africa's government has strongly opposed this initiative, calling claims of racial discrimination unfounded. Now, we're talking about 33,000 people coming here on this program, being installed as farmers. I just told you about the problem that farmers have with workforce, and imagine who they will be voting for. Okay, global news. France has no government at this point, but this will be fixed in a few days. French lawmakers voted to remove Prime Minister François Bayrou on Monday after just 9 months in office. The problem for him was that he pushed to, he pushed through the controversial 44 billion euros, which is $51 billion, sort of savings plan that included scrapping 2 public holidays and freezing governmental spending. And so then he was facing the confidence vote or no confidence vote, and which turned out against him. The motion passed with 364 votes against Bayrou, well above 280 needed. President Emmanuel Macron will name a new prime minister in the coming days, marking his 5th appointment in less than 2 years. As to Norway, they also had an election. The party in charge did win again. So, Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store's Labour Party secured another term, improving on its 2021 results. Store is expected to form a coalition with four smaller center-left parties, giving them just over half of parliament. And he's doing it because the far-right Progress Party surged to become the second largest bloc. So, as to Gaza, I told you that in the beginning. Israel is ordering full evacuation of Gaza City. Only 10% have left it now. It's about 1 million people remaining. Here's a quote from Israeli military spokesperson who delivered that in Arabic. Quote, the IDF is determined to defeat Hamas and will operate in Gaza City area with great force, unquote. Netanyahu added that this is only the beginning of the intensified ground maneuver in Gaza City. They're rolling over. Now, maybe Qatar will stop them by hitting them. We'll see. As to Ethiopia, this is interesting here. So, Ethiopia officially launched Africa's largest hydroelectric dam, despite ongoing disputes with Egypt and Sudan, who fear it will reduce Nile River flows. Mediation attempts by US, UAE, and World Bank have so far failed. The project now promises to supply power across East Africa and stands as centerpiece of Ethiopia's development ambitions. So, as to Africa's climate push, they hosted Africa Climate Summit in Ethiopia also. Kenyan President William Ruto announced a framework to mobilize up to $100 billion for green industrial projects. The deal signed by commercial and development banks builds on a plan first unveiled at COP28. Ethiopia is also positioning itself to host COP32 in 2027. Now, Honest is approved to officially cover Climate Week NYC. So the leaders of both countries will be there, and I'll be very happy to report on that. Now, as to Turkey, yes, Turkey is part of NATO. Turkey wants to be part of EU, but Erdogan is a dictator. I mean, it's judged by not by the tweets, but by the deeds. And so, Turkish police used pepper spray to disperse demonstrators outside the headquarters of the main opposition Republican People's Party, the so-called CHP. The unrest followed a court decision to install a former lawmaker as party leader, a move critics say is part of President Erdogan's campaign to weaken the opposition. So he installing the leader through the court of the opposition. Earlier this year, authorities jailed Istanbul's mayor, Ekrem İmamoğlu, the CHP's most prominent leader and potential challenger to Erdogan. There was sort of like the hope of the liberals, whoever is there, for him to win against Erdogan. But he was jailed, and so now Erdogan is using Supreme Court to install the leader of the party, which is very interesting. Maybe, and Trump is taking notes. Don't forget about that. Okay, your comments. Stevie Lynn says, I saw a rumor that Hyundai is closing the plant now, but no actual proof sources. Oh, let me check on that. That's interesting. Besant is unhinged. Yeah, right? And I always imagine the dollhouse that he used to live in and he's selling now. It's like a pink Barbie house. It's all authoritarian propaganda at this point, right? About the job data. Discovery should be interesting if this lawsuit goes to court. Yep. Says Jared. Michael says Supreme 6 are now part of the regime. Yep. I think so. Yes. Full evacuation of Gaza. Where are they supposed to go? Nowhere. Nobody wants to take them in. They tried to let Qatar take them in. Do you think they're going to do it now? They have their own stuff to do, right? Yeah. And so this is about to be like the biggest murder. And I'm not sounding excited. I'm sounding like, do we see what's going to happen? What Israel is doing? I mean, I'm all for it. I know Holocaust exists. I know we all have percentage, at least I have percentage of being Jewish. We know this exists. We know October 7th happened. But is this your solution? Is this your solution? Is this fair? How is it fair? How is it humane at this point? Now, I promised you I added 2 rubrics here to finish on the good note, and I did my research. Okay, so today in history, you know what happened today? We became United States of America. You know what we were before? We were United Colonies. So 1776. If I could sing, I would recite the Broadway show. Here, on this day, the Second Continental Congress officially adopted the name United States of America, replacing the prior designation of the United Colonies. Also, 1850, California joined the Union, which probably they're now regretting. Just short of 2 years after American acquisition, California became the 31st U.S. state, a rare leap from territory to statehood without transitional status. As to 1957, civil rights makes federal headway. President Eisenhower signed the first civil rights bill since Reconstruction, establishing Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department and enhancing voting protections. 1971, prisoners at Attica Correctional Facility in New York seized parts of the prison, held guards hostage, demanding better treatment and conditions, sparking of the most significant prison rebellions in U.S. history. 1966, now President Johnson signed the National Traffic and Motor Vehicle Safety Act. That's how we came to being obligated to wear seatbelts and also install shatter-resistant glass. Now, other things that I thought are interesting. So, North Korea today, in 1948, was declared a nation. Mao Zedong, the founder of People's Republic of China, passed away in 1976. Elvis Presley lit up television in his first appearance at the Ed Sullivan Theater, Ed Sullivan Show, in 1956. First computer bug recorded in 1947. And, which I didn't know, this was literally a bug. It was a moth, which coined the term debugging. That's so cool. Now, as to a bit of humanity here. So, British teens walked to Ukraine for a cause. 3 18-year-olds from the UK completed a 1,600-kilometer trek to Ukraine, raising more than 18,000 pounds to support orphans and hospital patients. One of the boys said, quote, "I just wanted to help them out as much as I could." And this was reported by BBC. And another thing is a video, and it's like a 4-minute video, which I just want you to enjoy. Probably this video will be banned because of it, but whatever. There was a Paris flash mob edition, which I don't like this thing when everybody gets up and starts dancing. But this was Bohemian Rhapsody. So if you're a Queen fan, I'm a Queen fan. This was an electrifying flash mob where 30 musicians and singers brought Bohemian Rhapsody to life on the streets of Paris, stopping passersby in their tracks. Now, the pianist Julian Cohen shared this video, and I want to share this video with you. Please enjoy. This is really, really cool. Where do I have it? I have it here. Take a look. We're capable to do so many good things, right? We're capable to sit down and watch this beautiful thing for 4.5 minutes. Incredible. So, if you haven't watched our curating culture episode, I mean, I have 82,000 followers on Blue Sky, and this video has what, 125 views? Come on now. I received such a good letter from the director today. With his permission, I might read it. It was so beautiful. Please learn. They're standing for Ukraine. They're not pro Russia. So that wouldn't be there if that was the case. Please learn about the Nicholas Rarick legacy. All I want you to do, just watch the video. This would be the best support. Please do so, because curating culture matters. Next, I will be going to 9/11 memorial, which will be now the ceremony attended by J.D. Vance and his wife. We'll make through it. And I see your comment. 3 days off the grid now feels like the year, 2 years have passed by, right? That's what's the comment here. Yeah, Morgan, I feel you, right? At some point, I feel like I want to run away and be in the woods, but we got to keep our head high and our head on a swivel, okay? So keep it positive. See you back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. Shut down the news. Oh, by the way, Trump is late to his memorandum or whatever, proclamation signing. I don't know what he's proclaiming. But he's late. He's supposed to do it at 4:30. Now it's 6:24. He's not there. And they have no live stream. So he is nowhere to be found at this point. So Qatar, that's the reason. Okay, I'll keep you updated. I'm going to update tonight's newsletter that's already in your inbox. If you're not subscribed, what you're doing, it's free. It's everywhere in my social media headlines or headings, whatever you call it, profile. Tap and subscribe and you get it. And I'm going to run there and update it with the latest I've heard from the Middle East. Okay? Because there it ends with White House said. Okay? Not bueno. So we're going to change it. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Have a safe night.